Hi, I'm Richard McPherson. I'm the Chief Instructor at Let's Ride Motorcycle Training, and in this lesson we're going to be talking about rear observations. So there's three sets of looks that we do when we're riding motorcycles. We have the direct observation behind, the indirect observation behind, and what we call the Lifesaver look, which is a look over your shoulder into your blind spot. So where do we use these different observations? Well, the direct observation behind is when we're pulling away from the side of the road. Now when we're sat at the side of the road, yes, we can be looking in the mirror just to see what's going on, but we can't really accurately gauge speed or distance with just the mirror. Not to mention, we've got a big blind spot on our right hand side here, which I'll come to a bit later when we talk about Lifesaver looks. So we need to be able to look directly at the traffic to judge speed and distance and cover the blind spot, and the way to do that is a direct observation behind. So that's a look all the way over your shoulder. So now I can see clearly what's coming, how far away it is, how fast it's travelling, as well as covering the entire blind spot we have on the right here. So that's the direct observation behind. The indirect observation behind is using the mirrors, because we're looking indirectly at the traffic behind us. And we use these mirrors quite a lot, every sort of 15 to 20 seconds roughly, but only when it's safe to take your eyes off the road. Remember, most of the danger is up there, so most of your focus should be ahead of you. But if it's safe to, you should be updating these mirrors quite regularly. And when I say safe to, I mean, let's say for example you're going down a road and there's a car waiting to pull out of a junction, so that's a big danger zone for us, so focus on that car. Or maybe there's a child on the side of the road with a ball, they might kick the ball out into the road. So you know, you want to be focusing on that hazard and not taking your eyes off the road with a mirror check. Now a mirror check is just a quick glance in both mirrors. Now we can't see you check your mirrors if you just use your eyes, so ideally, if you can, on the CBT, if you can just exaggerate your head movement a little bit for us so we can see you checking your mirrors. But once you've done your CBT, don't worry about it, just quick glance using your eyes there, that's all you need to do. So every sort of 15 to 20 seconds, just to see who's following you, how close are they, is someone getting really close to you, is someone looking like they're going to be overtaking you, that kind of information. And on the subject of tailgating, which unfortunately you'll get when you've got L plates on the back of your machine, if you've got someone sitting right on your backside, the best option is just pull over and let them go past you. Because if you have to do an emergency stop and they're really close behind you, they're just going to flatten you. So just move out of their way and let them be on their way there. So any change of course, speed or direction, ideally you need a mirror check. So a course change, an example there would be going around a parked car. So with parked cars we just need to worry about doors opening or people walking out from in between them. So you want to bring the bike out quite wide to get past the cars safely. And to do that we just do a quick right mirror check just to make sure it's clear on our right here. Now if it's a big move over, so let's say we've got a lorry or a bus or something, and we might have to go to the other side of the road, providing there's no traffic coming the other way, then that mirror is not enough and we have to do the Lifesaver look, which I'll come to in just a minute. So any course change, just do a mirror check to see what's going on behind. Any speed change, so if you're about to speed up or slow down, it's worth checking your mirrors first. Now why is that? Well, let's talk about speed changes. Let's say we're going from a 30 mile per hour zone to a 50 zone. Now motorcycles, even these little machines, can get up to speed pretty quickly and can out accelerate a lot of the cars on the road. Now the problem we've certainly discovered over the years doing this job is that people do get frustrated being behind learners even though we're doing the speed limit. You know, it beggars belief sometimes. So what we've often found is that, let's say we're going from a 30 to a 50, you've got an impatient car driver behind you, and as you're approaching the 50 sign, quite often you'll find this motorist behind you starts to overtake you before you've even exited the 30 mile per hour zone. At which point you hit the hit the 50 sign, you accelerate, there's a car now overtaking you and you're accelerating with him. The problem now is, if a vehicle comes the other way, what's this car going to do? Is he going to have a head on with that vehicle coming the other way, or is he going to shove his car straight into the side of you? So this is why, just have a quick glance in the mirrors before you accelerate, and if you've got someone looking like they're going to be overtaking, just hold off on the acceleration so they can get past you and then bring on the power. And slowing down likewise, if you're just about to go, say from a 50 to a 30, before you start slowing down, just have a little glance in the mirrors, again looking for someone too close behind us, because if they're really close and you need to start braking, there could be a danger there for you. So what I do in that situation, if I've got someone really sat close up behind me and I'm just about to brake, I'll just flash the brake light at them just a couple of times, wake them up a little bit so they back off, and that's when I'll come on to the real braking. Now with emergency stops, that's totally different. You know, forget your mirrors, you just got to stop. And emergency stops is something which will be covered on the CBT course there. So that's your indirect observations behind. So course change, speed change, direction change, and regularly when you're moving, every sort of 15 to 20 seconds. But even when you're stationary, don't forget about them. We're looking for maybe cyclists coming up the inside or even the outside, other motorbikes coming up beside us, anything which can affect us when we pull away there. So quite a few mirror checks involved when you're riding, but do remember your main focus is straight ahead. Now the final look that we do is what we call the Lifesaver Glass, and the reason it's called that, you can probably guess, it's designed to save your life. So this is a look over your shoulder into your blind spot before you commit to a turn or a change of lanes. So your blind spot, so if I got my both hands on the handlebars here, if I look in my right mirror, I've got a fair idea what's going on behind me, but I can't see over there, and my peripheral vision isn't picking it up either. So there's a big gap over there I've got no idea about, and it's certainly big enough for a car to disappear into. So before I sort of change lanes, let's say from a left lane to a right lane, or if I'm turning right from a main road into a side road, I've just got to make sure no one's overtaking me before I commit to that manoeuvre. And all I do there is that. Remember, it's not a direct observation behind. Can you see how much my body's twisting there when I do that? And that's just going to go into the steering, and the bike's going to be all over the place. That's all it is. Remember, your mirror covers a lot, so it's just that. That's all it is. A little glance over the shoulder. So I'm looking down that way, so that covers that entire blind spot there. And so I can be sure that it's clear before I commit to my turn or lane change. And do it in plenty of time. There's no point going, Lifesaver turn. Yeah, there's no point, it's too late. All you're doing there is looking at the car which is about to hit you. So do it in plenty of time. So 2, maybe 3 bike lengths before you commit to the manoeuvre, that's when you do the Lifesaver glance, okay? So we do that on right turns from major road to minor. Could be right turns at crossroads for a similar reason. There could be someone overtaking or cutting the corner before you. And at changing lanes, if you're moving from a left lane to a right lane, we do the right Lifesaver glance. So that's the right side, and then we do a left Lifesaver in different scenarios. Exactly the same reason though. So it's to protect us from anyone coming up the inside of us. And it's the same look, it's just a little glance over the shoulder there. That's all it is. And try and keep your arms nice and relaxed as well. If you're tense, even moving your head that much puts energy into the steering. So keep your arms nice and chilled out on the handlebars. The more relaxed you can be on the handlebars, the better the bike will handle underneath you. So chill out. So when you do that Lifesaver glance, no energy goes in to that steering. So when would we do a left Lifesaver? Well, not as common as the right one. Your normal road position when you're riding down the road is the centre of the lane, what we call the command position. It gives you the best clearance from the side of the road and the centre of the road. It's not always the best position. You know, you should always feel free to vary that position if moving out or moving in is going to help you see better, particularly around corners, or people see you better. Then don't be afraid to move your road positioning. Or if it's generally safer to be slightly further out, maybe with parked cars, that's fine. Or let's say you've got a bus coming the other way, overtaking parked cars on their side of the road, then, you know, let's get out of the way of the bus and get it more towards the curb. But most of the time we're going to be in the middle of the lane. So if we're taking a left turn off the main road, do we need to do a left Lifesaver before we turn? Well, not really. I mean, if you're checking your mirrors regularly, you should know that there's nothing coming up behind you. We're looking particularly there for push bike riders, or it could be some a spirited youngster on a moped coming up the inside of you. So, I mean, it's an extraordinarily rare scenario. I've never been in a scenario myself where something has come up the inside without me knowing about it, because I've been checking my mirrors regularly. Even when I'm stationary, I'm checking the mirrors regularly. But let's say you've been daydreaming a little bit, yeah, we all do it, you're not entirely sure what's going on behind you, and you realise, oh no, I've got to make a left turn, I don't know what's happening. Yeah, you could have a little look over your left shoulder there before you commit to the turn. But if you know 100% that there is nothing coming up behind you, and I'm not talking about 99% here, I'm talking about 100%, you know there's nothing coming up behind you on the inside of you, then it's actually safer to keep your eyes in front of you, okay? So left turn from a major road to a minor, no real need for a left lifesaver there unless you feel it's warranted there. We would do a left lifesaver if we're changing lanes. So remember, we did a right lifesaver going from left lane to right lane on a dual carriageway, but we could also do it from right lane to left lane. So let's say it's slow moving traffic up a road, so the left lane goes faster than the right lane goes faster, so someone can sneak up the inside of you quite easily, couldn't they? So if we're changing lanes, we'll check your mirrors, we signal, and then we just check over our left shoulder there, make sure there's nobody in that blind spot before moving across. So that's a scenario where you might want to use a left lifesaver. And the final one is on roundabouts. So if you're in the right hand lane on a roundabout, and that's usually if you're turning right, not always, sometimes it can be straight ahead as well, but usually it's for when you're turning right at a roundabout. When you're going round the roundabout, don't forget you've got that left lane following you all the way around the roundabout. And there could be an opportunity there for someone to follow you around the roundabout in the other lane. So they're in totally the wrong lane. You're in the correct lane, they're not. Or you might get someone coming in from another of the entrances and just sneaking around the outside of you. So this is where the left lifesaver is pretty crucial, and this one saved me a few times over the years. So just before I come off the roundabout, or when you come off the roundabout when you do this, you signal left to tell people you're coming off the roundabout, and then pretty much at the same time you've got to check that blind spot before you exit the roundabout. So on the roundabouts it's signal left, look over that left shoulder, make sure no one's coming around you, and then you can exit the roundabout. Now, when you do these lifesavers, you've always got to think there's someone going to be there and you're going to have to abort. So if you're doing a junction and you're just about to turn and someone's in your blind spot, then you can stop, can't you? So let's say I'm about to do a right turn, I do the lifesaver, someone's overtaking, I can just come to a stop. What about roundabouts though? So if I look over my shoulder and there's someone coming around you, preventing you from coming off the roundabout, what are you going to do? You can't stop on a roundabout, can you? Do you speed up and try and beat the car? No, that's dangerous too. So think about it, it's a roundabout, yay, we can just go around the roundabout again. So if that does happen, so if you've done your shoulder check, you've looked over your shoulder, done the lifesaver glance, there is a car there, you can't exit the roundabout, flip the indicator back over to the right and just try again, go around again and then signal left, lifesaver and exit. Okay, so those are the three observations that we're going to be doing on the CBT for you. So the first one, just to recap, direct observation, so this is pulling away from the side of the road, indirect, using mirrors, and then finally lifesaver depending on which way you're going. So if you're turning right or moving into a right hand lane, it's a right lifesaver, or if you're turning left, moving into a left hand lane, it's a left lifesaver. The lifesaver is always done in the direction you're about to move. There's no point doing a left lifesaver if you're turning right, yeah, or a right lifesaver if you're going that way. Okay, that's it for observations.